Have you ever wondered if you've lived before or will live again? Are you curious about what happens to your soul after you die? Or maybe you've met someone you're sure you've known before. Or maybe you're just wondering if you have talents, skills, and experiences from a prior life that could help you now. Hi, I'm Brownell Landrum, author of the upcoming We Meet Again trilogy, and I'd like to welcome you to the Life is a Trip podcast. The following story, Dream Weavings, A Letter to My Beloved, was written by Selah Sophia. Selah was inspired to write the story about her relationship with the love of her life.
Hello, I'm Selah. Thank you, Brunel, for inviting me. Here's the story of how my dreams prophesied the unfolding of a relationship with the man I call the love of my life. I've put this story in a letter to him. Here it is. Dearly beloved, I dreamed you into being in my life, beloved. In the desert dream, before I knew you, I dreamed of our future together. You were the wise man wandering the desert. I was your devoted water bearer. I followed as you led, wordless, determined, lost in your own head. In those solitary moments, as I followed in your footsteps, I felt a deep love and devotion to you. The dream held importance to me. It was a dream I would keep in mind and hold as sacred as I sent my prayers up each night. In another dream before we met, you came to me when I was blind and couldn't do my studies or learn without my sight. You said you would help me regain my sight, but first there was someone I must go see, someone who wanted to speak with me. Even though I was a bit apprehensive because I didn't know you, I was desperate to regain my sight, so I agreed to go with you. You led me to the abode of the mysterious Baba Yaga, deep in the woods. Despite her cryptic words spoken in Russian, I understood her message clearly when she asked, "What is your deepest desire?" At that moment, you were my deepest desire, beloved. I wanted you in my life, and so I confided in the ancient crone goddess. Night after night, for years, I asked the dream maker for a glimpse of you. My heart whispered prayers to the goddess, seeking guidance on our destined meeting. "Show him to me," I prayed. I kissed a few frogs while looking for you. When our paths finally crossed, I felt certain that my prayers had been answered. You effortlessly assumed the role of my beloved, your magnetic presence flawless in its allure. When you appeared in my world, I projected all the longing and desire I'd been holding inside directly onto you. When we met, I knew you. You were so familiar to me. I felt like I'd come home. Our connection was so powerful. I felt like I'd been searching for you for 1,000 years. I knew then that we'd been together before and that you were going to play an important role in my life. I was beside myself with joy, excitement, and hope. Was this really happening? As time passed, we moved from dating to living together. We went on exciting adventures. We traveled to exotic places. You wrote a book while I kept the home fires burning. We had delicious sex. We fit together like peas and carrots, a hand in a glove. We spent copious amounts of time creating our dream work. We shared similar spiritual perspectives. We loved to consult the oracles, the I Ching, runes, the tarot, and contemplate what it all meant. I'd finally found the love of my life. As we got to know each other better, I began to see some troubling behavior. Your alluring mask began to slip, I chalked it up to the woes of a new relationship and the inevitable adjustments and compromises we had to navigate. The years passed as I made excuses for your behavior. These troubling episodes began to pile up. I persisted stubbornly in believing that we were meant for each other and we would sort out these differences. You gradually tightened your grip on me, isolating me from friends and family. You created stressful situations between me and my children. But I was loyal. I was your devoted water bearer. We got married, but by then I spent a fair amount of time in a stress-induced daze, emotionally dysregulated. Sometimes I was very afraid of you and dreaded coming home. Would you be content or dysphoric that day? How bad would it get that evening? I never knew what to expect. All I wanted was a loving partner and a home where I and our loved ones felt welcome, safe, and loved. This became my mantra. We had agreed that after your book was published, I would write a book. My book writing project kept getting put on the back burner, though. You had more important work to accomplish, and you needed my full attention to help you make it all happen. We couldn't get distracted with the book I wanted to write. That wasn't relevant anymore. This was just one example of how my needs didn't matter. My desert dream kept tickling my mind. Did a water bearer not have needs of their own? Was a water bearer nothing more than a servant? Wait. What? I began to put the pieces together, what the dream maker had been showing me. Beloved, you did indeed lead me to the doorstep of Baba Yaga when you told me of a women's circle you'd heard of in a men's circle you attended. You encouraged me to check it out, and I did. The work was based on shadow work and the role that sacred feminine archetypes play in our lives. The women's circle was called Inner Yaga. The organization was named in honor of Baba Yaga, the sacred feminine archetype who teaches us to face our fear, listen to our intuition, and find the courage to transform our lives. I felt that inner tickly feeling again that I sometimes get when I find myself in the presence of something divine, a holy synchronicity. When I attended my first yoga circle, the fire keeper asked the question, "What is your deepest desire?" I flashed back suddenly to the dream in which Baba Yaga asked me this same question. I felt that same tickle again, and I knew I was in the right place. The great mystery had used the dream maker and you, beloved, to point me to this circle. A shudder of knowing coursed through my body as I sat in the yoga circle that evening. Nearly 15 years later, I continue to sit in yoga circles. The sisterhood and inner work we do together has been profoundly helpful, and I want to keep the work alive. I am grateful to you for the pointer, beloved. Years later, in the midst of our relationship, the dream maker bestowed upon me yet another prophetic dream. I dreamed of another life we shared. We were nomadic, traveling the countryside, never staying anywhere for long. On the road, we were ambushed by all the king's men. They took you, but not me, and I knew it was over. I was shattered by the grief of knowing I would never see you again. I woke up crying. My yoga sisterhood has helped me gain my sight in profound ways. Seeing all the things I've held in shadow, the patterns that held me hostage to codependent relationships, a lack of boundaries and self-respect, and believing that I was not good enough. But beyond this, you helped me see, all right. I just had no idea how hard it would be and how long it would take me to see our relationship for what it really was. I didn't see for years what I see now, that you were seriously mentally ill, a malignant narcissist who would at times transform into a demon disguised as my beloved, an abuser who delighted in emotional sadomasochism. I began to see how frightening and exhausting your endless demands, ridicule, and alienation could be. The realities of day-to-day life with you gradually wore me down. Like the ocean crashing against the rocks, turning them to sand, I believed I was trapped in a waking nightmare as you kept crashing into me with your mind games, manipulation, control, isolation, and I was gradually disintegrating like the rocks, becoming less and less capable of making decisions or taking care of myself. As your darkness became undeniable, my disillusion set in. You were not the man I thought you were. You were a slowly unfolding nightmare, fulfilling the last dream's prophecy, tearing us apart and helping me see that I had to get out. I watched again and again as you transformed from the soulmate I loved into a needy, spoiled little boy, an arrogant, rage-filled grown man, and at times someone so hateful, threatening, and abusive, I feared you'd become possessed by a demon. I began to question what I was doing with you. The voice of fear grew louder and louder. My intuition, Baba Yaga's gift, was screaming at me, telling me that you were dangerous, hazardous to my health. I began to wonder when you would resort to hitting me. I learned that you'd been physically violent with your other wives. In time, I grew quieter and quieter. The inquisitions, surveillance, and rants took their toll, making everything harder than it had to be, for days or weeks or even months on end. My sense of isolation deepened under your pervasive control. It became more and more obvious that you took pleasure in causing suffering. Then, on any given morning, the demon would retreat, and you would awaken a new man, brimming with joy as if the world had regained its radiance. You were with the love of your life. I was amazing, a goddess. You were all-powerful, able to accomplish any and everything you set out to do. And we were meant to be together. I rode the wave of your mania until your mood fell again. Dysphoria set back in, and the demon returned. I learned to walk on eggshells and nail beds and burning hot coals. I never knew what to expect when I walked into the place I called home. As the years went by, you worked less and less until you didn't work anymore at all. You made the unilateral decision to retire and rely on Social Security, a sum hardly sufficient to sustain the overhead of your home and property. This meant that I had just become 80% of our financial support, at least, for a home you made clear I would never have any ownership in. But I was welcome to live there with you as long as I kept putting out the supply you craved. My dreams twisted into nightmares, mirroring the transformation of my beloved into this demon. Night after night, I endlessly attempted to escape from the monsters who were chasing me, trying to kill me. I ran marathons in those nightmares, waking up wet with sweat with my heart pounding out of my chest. Sometimes I flew to get away and would barely make it. The dream maker was screaming at me, "Run." How could I have been so wrong about you, about us? Was I? Or was this some twisted soul contract you and I had entered into? I learned so much after I left you. Knowing you helped me see many things. Because of you, I see my naivete, the awesome power of projection, what it looks like when a covert narcissist puts his mask on, and then again when he takes it off, what it feels like to be abused so insidiously, to disappear on myself, and that I had to wholeheartedly revisit the traumas of my childhood to overcome them in adulthood. I get it now. I see. My dreams were indeed prophetic. It was my misunderstanding of the messages, shrouded in my deep longing to be loved, and the loneliness that had grown so big in me that caused me to sign up for so much suffering. In the desert dream, as I followed in your footsteps, I failed to recognize the cautionary signs, your aloofness, the fact that you walked ahead of me, the parching dry heat of the desert, that I was the one carrying our sustenance. Instead, I perceived the vision as an invitation to immerse myself in devotion to you, beloved. I didn't see it as the kind of servitude so many women endure, as chattel, as someone owned, someone with no autonomy, with no voice in the unfolding of their lives. Did I once own you like you owned me in this life? In retrospect, this dream was a warning and an invitation to love. It took me nearly a decade to realize that the invitation to love was about learning to love myself. So, beloved, I set your water jug down out there in your desert. I cannot carry it for you anymore. I regained my sight, and it's better than ever now. I see every red flag for what it is, a warning. I learned to listen to my gut, my intuition, when it cries out to me, red flag, red flag, red flag. I didn't realize when I had the dream in which the king's men took you and left me, that it foretold of our demise. But this too was true. I will never see you again. Not on purpose, anyway. Not in this lifetime. This chapter started out pretty, but ended with a complex PTSD diagnosis with my name on it. It nearly destroyed me. But now I see that the Dream King, who stole you from me, was symbolic of your trauma-induced madness, something much more powerful than my love. I see the importance of respecting my boundaries. I see how I recognize an abuser and a narcissist when I see one. I understand what it means to use good discernment and how this is very different from judging people, including myself. Now I know what the quiet voice of my intuition sounds and feels like in my body, and how vitally important it is to listen to that voice above all others, especially the voices outside myself who sow doubt and insecurity. The king can have you. And yes, this shattered me. But I put my pieces back together with the gold that was somehow obscured by my shadow. This gold is my power, and it includes my autonomy, my sovereignty over my life. And I am much better than before. I did what the demon possessed you suggested many times. I got the fuck out. I understand what the wise woman meant when she said that our soul contract was one-sided. It was about you helping me see, but there was nothing there about me helping you. Even she thought it so very odd that it wasn't reciprocal, not in this lifetime. That was a hard pill to swallow, since my entire life with you was about helping you, serving your every need, carrying your water through the desert, being the supply that you were addicted to. But I see now. Nothing I did in the service of love helped you see any better or heal the wounds that you experienced so early and consistently in your young life. Wounds that are so deep they ruined your life. All I can do now is wish you well from afar, from a soul perspective. All contact has otherwise ceased, and for my own well-being, it will have to remain so. I wish you well, beloved. Now I am the love of my life. Selah.
Thank you for listening to Dream Weavings, a letter to my beloved, written and narrated by Selah Sophia. Selah is a psychologist and creatrix of sacred feminine ritual and healing work. I don't know about you, but this powerful story certainly brought up a lot of questions for me. Have you ever felt guided to meet someone and felt it was destiny, and it turned into something completely different from what you expected? Join the discussion in the Life as a Trip group on Facebook. And to reach Selah, contact her at Selah, S-E-L-A-H, Sophia, S-O-P-H-I-A, at yahoo.com. Thanks again for listening. Hi, this is Brownell. For more of these transcendental tales, please join the Life as a Trip group on Facebook and check out my amusing and enlightening story entitled The End, which you can find on my website, brownelllandrum.com. That's BROWNELLLANDRUM.com. And please look for my upcoming novel trilogy entitled We Meet Again. It's a story about a famous couple reincarnated today to help solve a centuries-old mystery that will change the world.